Trans people do not transition for sports. Trans people transition to live. And we also, some of us, happen to be athletes, happen to play sports. Trans women do not threaten sports, trans people do not threaten sports, but trying to exclude us does. I learned how to swim when I was 10 months old, so I've been swimming for my whole life. I think it's just always been a place I found safety and comfort. From my childhood, I had experienced a lot of gender ambiguity or gender confusion, if you will. I was somebody who presented myself in a very sort of stereotypically masculine way, but I would use the girls' bathroom and the girls' locker room, and so I was often bullied for not being gender conforming. And in high school, I decided that I was sick of being bullied. So I started looking or changing my look to be more girly, but it was miserable. And so when I finally went to actually a residential treatment center for the eating disorder that I was struggling with, I took a break and I actually discovered that I'm trans. But at that time, I had been recruited to swim for the women's team at Harvard. I felt like I had to choose between being myself as an athlete and being myself as a trans person. And I had many conversations with my coaches. The women's coach said, I don't know a whole lot about this and about your identity, but I do know that we care about you and we want to figure it out. She ended up talking to the men's coach, Kevin Terrell. Kevin said, why don't you swim for the men's team if you identify as male, want to swim here at Harvard? And I initially declined it, actually. I said, no, I'm not ready for that. I think that's too much. I'm too scared. I don't want to be alone. There's nobody else that has done this before. That sounds terrifying. And I was basically prioritizing all of this paper success of winning races or being on the record board or even going potentially to Olympic trials and beyond in the women's category. I was prioritizing all of that over my own happiness. And I needed to take that leap for my own happiness. So in April of 2015, I decided to swim for the men's team. And then that fall in August and in September was when I began on the men's team at Harvard and became the first openly trans athlete to do so on a D1 men's team in college. A lot of critics are arguing that testosterone is the thing that makes somebody better or worse in a sport, and therefore trans women, so those assigned male at birth who identify as women, should not be able to compete with other women in women's category sports. Does testosterone treatment improve one's athletic outcomes? Sure, it could, right? But is that the only factor as to why I got faster? Probably not. Actually, I'm going to say definitely not. There's so much inequity in sports, and people are focused on trans people, when in reality, there are so many other problems: socioeconomic disparity, racism, ableism, fat phobia, classism and capitalism, right? There are so many problems that create an unlevel playing field in sport that we should address, and trans people are not at all a factor. Everybody is debating trans rights and where trans people belong or if we belong, and yet most Americans claim they've never met a trans person. Most can't accurately define the word transgender. And so we've got this combination of people don't know a whole lot about trans people, but everybody's talking about us. So this is a really concerning discrepancy, right? People have no information about us, and yet everybody's debating us. And so I wanted to give them information about us. And that's what he, she, they is. It's a call in, it's an invitation to understand a little bit more about trans people and about gender more expansively so that everybody can enter this conversation with context, with research, and hopefully with humanity at the forefront.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.